Bean Games!
You know what time it is. It's time for Euro Truck Simulator 2. Here on Bean Games. Welcome to Friday, everyone. You made it through another week. Congratulations. Sometimes that's the life achievement that we need each week. Sometimes it's the only one we get in a week. I made it through. I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday all in a row, and now it's Friday. Well done. Well done. If that's all you did this week, hey, that's okay. Maybe you had stuff on your to-do list that didn't get done. Hey, it's not the end of the world that I know of. If the world ends while we're playing Bean Games, hey, what better way to go out than on the roads of Europe, driving trucks around? So here we go. Let's see where it is we left off at the end of last episode. Geneva. And I tried to get all fancy last episode saying Geneva, obviously. But when in Europe, sometimes I like to try to pronounce things as the Europeans do. Do I do it correctly? No, absolutely not. But, yes, that's where we are. Hey, we're over 5% of the roads explored. We've been making some good progress. And so we're going to get out there and see if we can get to any new towns today. Drive on some new roads. See what we see. I got some ideas for some more upgrades we should make to the truck. We might get to those this episode. We might not. I don't want to just start throwing things up willy-nilly. There's tons of decorations and accoutrements that we can get for our truck, but I don't want to get gaudy with it. I don't want to be gauche. I want to be classy, tasteful. That's a big goal. Is to be very tasteful with everything that we do here at Bean Games Trucking. Okay, so we are picking up from Tradox, where we left off. We can take a fuel tanker, or we can take onions. Hey, if we take onions, we head down into Italy, down to Torino. I kind of like the idea of that, because I don't think we've been down to Italy. So let's do that. Let's take 17 tons of onions. So we can get ourselves backed in here. Ooh, little rusty dusty there. Hooked in. Okay. And off we go. What do these onions look like? Oh, it's just a regular old enclosed. That makes sense. We had a couple of interesting loads there for sure that were those big copper tubes, but they're not gonna just have a open truck bed full of onions. Wouldn't be very sanitary. Plus, nobody wants it to rain on your onions. It's one thing if to have rain on your parade, but to have rain on your onions? What if it was an onion parade? That's probably a thing somewhere. If I've learned anything, it's that there's a day or a festival dedicated to just about everything in this crazy world. There's got to be an onion festival somewhere. Where? I don't know. That's a quick Google search away. If I remember it, I might search for that after we finish either this episode or this delivery, if I feel so inclined. But yeah, an onion festival. I figure there's got to be communities, maybe counties, if not towns or cities, say in Idaho, where potatoes are a big staple crop. There's got to be potato festivals. Surely there must be onion festivals. I'd go to either one of those. I think I'd go to a potato festival first, if I had the choice. But Oh crap, did I hit him? I didn't even feel anything. Have I become so calloused to the road that I sideswiped that guy? Oh man, that was unfortunate. Hope I didn't do too much damage. Ooh, I'm gonna do some damage here. I shouldn't be twiddling with my GPS. I'm trying to make a turn. Did some damage to my wheels, it looked like. But oh, we're gonna come close to needing a rest stop on this delivery, I think. See if we need to take one on the way there. May I merge in, please? Thank you. But yeah, Potato Festival. That's gotta be a thing. Potato Festival, Onion. Yeah, I just completely lost my train of thought. Where did we start with this? Onion Festival, onions. Maybe a potato and onions festival. Those two go together pretty well. If you've never had fried potatoes and onions, you're missing out. That's a great combination. If I had to pick one, I would pick potatoes over onions. But you know, put them together, it's not too bad. I have a complicated relationship with onions. Well, it's not really so much complicated now, but it was complicated for a time in my life, I suppose. I was not a big fan of onions growing up. It's one of those foods that just, I mean, I think a lot of kids go through that phase where, you know, onions have a real sharp zing to them, and didn't please my youthful taste buds. Not an onion fan. My brother hated them too. So both of us, anytime Mom would make something with onions in it, it was, oh, onions again. You know, I loved my mom's meatloaf. I mean, Mom made a killer meatloaf, but there were onions in it. And I remember saying, Mom, why can't you make the meatloaf just without the onions? Thankfully, she would often use, she would cut the onions up into bigger chunks, so that way we could kind of, you know, dig them out and put them off to the side. If they were like little tiny diced onions, you could never get those out. As I get older, now I realize it was probably some of the cooked onion flavor that I actually really liked about the meatloaf, but just onions. It was probably more psychological than anything else, really. You know, I think a lot of our food neuroses as children, but also as adults even, very, very psychological. You know, I can't remember. I love onions now. I love them. Eat them all the time. Not straight, not necessarily raw, but if I'm cooking, you know, a stir fry or soups or any kind of vegetable dish, yeah, I'll put onions in there. You know, you start with the garlic and the onions, brown them up a little caramelization. That good kind of, you know, glazed onion smell you get and the flavor that it adds. I mean, they become more about flavor than anything else, and it's delightful. I couldn't even pinpoint exactly when that was. Sometime not that terribly long ago, like within the last 4 or 5 years, really. Maybe it was just one of those taste bud things that I kind of grew out of, you know. I managed to avoid eating onions for a long time, and by the time I got around to them again, my taste buds had reset. Even then, your brain has to get around it, because I've had that with a few different foods, mostly vegetables, it seems, in my adult life. Like something's in front of me, and I'm like, I don't think I like this, but I don't even remember exactly what it tastes like. Like all I know is that as a kid I didn't like it, and so my head tells me that I'm not going to like it, even if my taste buds are like, I don't know, we've regenerated since the last time you ate this, so we feel kind of impartial. And onions is one of those things. I don't even remember when I became suddenly brave enough to start eating them again, but love it. I'll put onions in all sorts of things. Kind of the same with like green peppers, bell peppers, red peppers. I don't put those in quite as much things. Again, same sort of thing. Green peppers as a kid, no, not even close. I don't love them as much as I really enjoy onions now, but I'll eat them. I'll put them in dishes. I got no problem with peppers. Our taste buds change. They evolve. So yeah, I'd go to an onion festival. I'd go to a potato festival even sooner. Love potatoes. If I get the chance to haul some potatoes in this game. Have I hauled potatoes yet? I don't think I have. Surely I will. I'd love to haul some potatoes. Sneak a couple of those out for the old snack box. I got an air fryer for Christmas this past year. It's great. I use it a bunch. Roasted or air fried, I suppose, vegetables, potatoes. That's a big thing. Just cut up a bunch of potatoes into chunks and toss them in the air fryer and roast them up, and you got yourself potato wedges. Delightful. I can eat just a ton of those. Staple poverty food. I have not tried yet putting onions in the air fryer, but now that I think about it, that would be kind of interesting to put a mixture of potatoes and onions. You need more potatoes, maybe just, one onion for a lot more than one potato. You don't want a 1-to-1 ratio. I might should try that. But then again, I have no complaints about potatoes just the way they are. I'm very much, not just in the kitchen, but in life in general, I'm very much if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't necessarily feel the need to experiment and iterate on things that I think are already fantastic, unless I see room for improvement. Like if I was to eat potatoes by themselves and say, this is good. It's not great, but it's good. Then I might say, okay, then what could I add? Onions. These other spices. But if I eat potatoes by themselves, then I have zero complaints. If I just say, these are fantastic, just potatoes. Straight up. Then I don't necessarily go out of my way to look for ways to fancy it up. That manifests a lot with food in the kitchen. I like simple foods, not complicated foods, so, I don't see the need to make things overly complex. But again, that's just me. If you like making complex dishes on the regular, hey, go for it. Everyone has their own culinary style. You do you when it comes to food. Have I crossed the border into Italy yet? I don't think so. I'm over halfway there. They don't make a big deal about border crossings in this game, it seems like. At least not that I've noticed yet. Maybe that depends on different countries. Look at these mountains up here. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm sorry. I need to get over there. Oh, that car just squeaked on by. See on the map where I am. Oh, gotta stop twiddling with my GPS. Oh, that's got me into trouble a couple of times now. End of the toll road. While I'm here, now let's take a look at the map. See, it's kind of difficult to tell on this map exactly even where the border is. At the border between the two? Maybe? It's tough. It's tough to know. Well, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. From what little I do know of Europe, border crossing is not as complex as it is. Well, I mean, In the U.S., what, you're going to Canada or Mexico? We don't have, going from state to state is not nearly the same as going country to country. Obviously, it's just a different system. Speaking of going state to state, this might be a good time to talk about this week in trucker news, a new segment we may land on from time to time. This week in trucker news, I was just reading today, there is a bill in Congress that has some bipartisan support. Well, it's about time to take a nap. If we see a rest area coming up, we may have to pop over there. There's a bill called the Drive Safe Act, I believe is what it's called. The crux of this bill, or really the reason behind this bill, is that as I believe I've mentioned before, there is a shortage of truck drivers. This is one of the reasons why trucking costs have gone up. Fun fact, if you're an Amazon Prime member, and as I am, and your Amazon Prime membership recently went up in cost, a lot of that is to cover increased freight costs. And some of that is related to oil and gas costs, but some of it is related to they're having to pay truck drivers more. There's a lot of costs in the trucking industry, to be sure. But there's not a lot of I just took a little side jaunt here. Let's see if I can take a quick nap real fast. Hold that thought. Let's take a rest. Ooh, dear. Our customer expects delivery very soon. Oh, did I run out of time for this delivery? That's not good. Usually that's not a problem. Usually they give you like a really significant buffer of time to deliver in, but maybe I overshot that with taking a 9-hour nap. I wonder if I have to start taking that into account with some of these longer deliveries. And oh, look at that, Italy. There's the border. Hey, we saw the sign. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, let's get this to where it needs to go stat. I hope they don't fine me for late deliveries. They probably will. Because I'm taking longer and longer deliveries, and I'm taking some of those that are like a very tight time frame, I should probably start watching that when I go to choose deliveries. A lot of factors to consider. I can't let myself get complacent thinking this game is simple. In some ways it is very simple, but I still have to keep my head about me and make good decisions. And we got that background music coming in now. I don't know if you can hear that. It's kind of quiet in the background, but I wonder if that's urging me on to the fact that I'm kind of late with this delivery. Well, we shall go post-haste while trying hard not to speed too much. Yeah, anyway, sorry, got distracted there. The Drive Safe Act. So currently, almost every state, you can get your CDL, your truck driver license, at the age of 18, right? Just like when you can drive any other vehicle. But I did not realize this. It is federal law that you cannot drive commerce interstate, like from state to state, unless you're 21. You can drive trucks within a state, but not you can't cross state borders until you're 21. So there's this 3-year age gap there where you may have someone who's doing like local trucking jobs, but not they can't do most of the big rig hauling, which is going to be cross state lines. The people behind this bill raised an interesting point. They said there are states where you can drive from one end of the state to the other, and that's 400 miles, and that's not a problem for a 19-year-old truck driver. But that same truck driver can't drive from city A to city B if they're 40 miles apart, if it crosses state lines. Now, I'm no expert in why such federal trucking laws might or might not exist, if it's a safety thing. But there seems to be a lot of support for this bill, as that would allow young people who are getting into the trucking industry on the ground level to take on bigger jobs, drive from state to state earlier on in their trucking career, with, of course, a lot of safety regulations, making sure that, you know, even if these drivers are younger than your typical 21-plus-year-old, that they've done all the safe driving protocols, they've logged all of their hours, they've fulfilled all of their requirements. So certainly don't want anything unsafe happening. Certainly not. But there seemed to be some support behind this bill. I'll have to look it up again and follow it and see what happens. But yeah, just saw that headline today. Thought that would be interesting to share with you, as what's going on in the world of trucks today. Coming up on our city of Torino here. Should be entering the outskirts any minute. Torino. Isn't that the brand name of those flavored coffee syrups? Or is that Torani? I'm not sure. I can see what the bottle looks like, but I can't think of. I think those are Torani. Very similar sounding. Don't know if they're from anywhere near the same place. Probably not, but that was the first thing I thought of when I saw Torino. But they could also be the same. I'm not even sure. Something else to look up. Look at that sunrise coming up over there. It's beautiful. Nothing like driving all night to watch the sun come up. I've only done that a few times, but Torino has been discovered. So, sorry to stop in the middle of the road here. Looks like there's a couple of trucking ports here. There's one, but that's not ours. Ours is a little further up. This looks like a pretty decent sized city here. We got some big buildings. We got something up there that looks like the St. Louis Arches. Not sure if that's a Torino specific landmark. Very curious. Can't drive that way, it's blocked off. Look at that, you see like a cathedral and interesting. This is going to make me want to do some real life research about these different towns. let's play it safe here. Don't want to delay the delivery any more than we need to, but let's get that little XP bonus. See if we can line this up on the first go. Hey, nope, overshot just a bit. There we go. Okay, let's see if we got a penalty there for being late. Oh, wow, like it says, like, late. Oh, boy, yeah, that's a bit of a penalty. All right, so today we learned, as is sometimes is the only way to grow in our trucker knowledge, that late deliveries are not good. Shouldn't take super long naps in the middle of them. So I mean that took away our proficiency bonus, which is substantial, but we still did quite all right there. No damage bonus, so that's a relief. Still made a pretty good payout there, but I just don't like that red. I like seeing that excellent. You know, we've had a good string of excellent deliveries, and that's what I want to be at Bean Games Trucking. I want to be an excellent trucking company, so that's our goal that we're shooting for. Always. Now, the question is, can I see from this screen like what my tiredness level is? No, don't want to leave. Progress history? Let's look at a chart and a graph. We haven't done that here in a while. I am definitely an enthusiast, looks like here. Is this the number of deliveries that I've made, perhaps? Have we made 19 deliveries? Deliveries finished. Hey, sure enough. Oh, I love tracking stats. So much fun. We've driven almost 5,000 kilometers, which is close to, that's over 3,000 miles. So we have now driven the equivalent of like New York to California, width of the continental United States. That's impressive, guys. That's very impressive. And yet we've still explored less than 6% of the roads. 19 deliveries finished, which means the next one will definitely hit 20. We're gonna have to watch some milestones there. 50th delivery, 100th. That's gonna be some fun milestones to hit. Okay, those are my skills. I've got no emails in a while. What's going over here? Okay, yeah, so this is if I need to do some repairs, which maybe I should. Can I No, I have to go to one of those service centers, that's right. Well, I'm not super damaged there, so that's okay. Company manager, okay. Yeah, so again, over time, I can build up garages, I can buy more trucks and manage drivers. Man, this will get complicated down the road, but I'm in no hurry to get there. We're making good money. We're at 70,000 euros right now, and only my loan each day is only what? Yeah, just under 3,000. I've already made 5 payments. I mean, we're doing just fine on that. I wonder, can you repay one faster? Well, I don't have that much yet, but I bet you probably can once you have enough. That'd be nice. That way I don't have to pay too much interest. Good to know. Okay. Well, now let's see from here. I've got no delivery job. Next rest stop in 9 hours and 25 minutes. Okay. So that's probably a good thing to be checking before we pick up any job, because we don't want to see those late penalties. It's just on a matter of principle. What kind of deliveries do we have here? Check out the freight market. All right, we've got a few. We got used plastics. We've got empty pallets. We've got used packaging. Apparently, this place that we're dropping off is they just have used everything. Okay, so we can go back up to Geneva or to Lyon or up to Zurich in Switzerland. Which, have we been to Zurich? I want to say we have. Oh, those are my toggles. Okay, interesting. I kind of like the idea of heading down to Marseille. We have not been down to Marseille yet. Now, where are my details here? Nope, that's just the trailer selection, which doesn't really matter. I'll drive whatever they assign to me. Okay, yeah, here we go. Trip time, 6 hours and 7 minutes. We can easily make that with the amount of sleep that we need to take right now. 379 kilometers. Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and take some used plastics down to Marseille. Marseille? I'm so bad with pronunciation, guys. Like, you don't even know. I'm really, really bad at it. There's a long-running joke between my wife and some friends and I where I tried to pronounce some French words many years ago. They still haven't let me live it down. I'm terrible with some of those accents. Maybe purposefully so. You know, sometimes for a laugh, but still. Sometimes it's purely my best effort. It's still pretty awful. All right. We've got us a substantial little drive here, but we're in good shape to do it. It's what, Monday at about 6 p.m.? No, 6 a.m., sorry, of course. And we should get there by about noon. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm definitely just being the workaholic truck driver here, just from one delivery to the next. Every so often, we probably should take a little bit of a holiday. A holiday. That would be a nice thing to take in Europe. Not that there's a ton of things to sightsee, but it might be kind of a functional holiday when we every so often just go and tune up the truck and do a shopping trip, and maybe we'll just make those excursions every so often. Don't know if we'll get to that this episode, but maybe next episode we'll think about... Oh, I thought I was in the intersection before it turned red, but apparently I was not. I have not seen if the game keeps track of how many tickets you get. It would not surprise me if it did. I'll probably stumble upon that metric at some point when it will be in a very depressing shape, because I typically have been getting like an average of, what, a ticket or two per delivery. But at the same time, too, I mean, I wonder how much of that is just the cost of being a truck driver. How many tickets and infractions does the average truck driver get? More or less than what I'm getting? Hopefully less. Probably less. Well, I'll keep doing my best. That's all we can do. Big old hay bales out here. Nice little wood slat fences. Those wood fences always, excuse me, remind me of the countryside up in Vermont and New Hampshire, where my grandparents used to live. I mean, you see those everywhere, but for some reason that's I kind of associate them with New England farmhouses and farmsteads. The backcountry. Got to pull forward just enough. I feel like we're seeing a lot more toll roads here down in Italy and France than we did up in Germany. It's alright, cost of doing business. as everyone knows, you've got to spend money to make money sometimes. I am a little surprised they don't give you one of those little dashboard stickers that just automatically pings it out of your bank account. Those seem pretty common. But maybe that's only in places where it's like a single city, self-contained system. Maybe there isn't necessarily one standard for all of Europe that they can have, so they make you put the coins in. Toll booths were always a mythical sort of thing as a kid, you know, on road trips. Just the concept of this little row of shacks out in the middle of the road somewhere. And of course you had your two kinds, you know, the kind where other real people were that would give you change. Like most toll booths. Those were always interesting. Like, how does one find a career in the toll booth industry? That was a very short toll road right there. I assume you apply for it like any other job. But what an interesting job. I just always wondered, like, what would it be to sit in those little booths all day long? Dozens, if not hundreds, of interactions with people. All of them less than 30 seconds long. Every day. Long stretches of time. Figured a lot of those people must have, you know, either books or they're working on novels. I mean, depending on the time of day and the busyness of the toll road, you know, maybe they didn't have much free time. Maybe it was just constantly money exchanging hands and seeing the next car roll up. Monotonous jobs like that have always held a certain fascination for me. Not saying I necessarily have any desire to ever work as a toll booth operator. But it would definitely be one of those jobs that I would try for a week, just to see. But then there are also toll booths. This kind I seem to recall seeing more up in New England than anywhere else, on roads up there, that were fully automated, where you'd pull up and there was just the basket there that you would throw your change into, and it would sense how much change you put in and open up the gate. Just tossing the change out the window. Hey, is that a person up there? Is he... What's he doing? You don't see a lot of people on the side of the roads in these games, so I'm always fascinated. Oh, is he sweeping the streets? Look at that guy. Doing his civic duty. Good for him. A fine chap. Trying real hard to get another speeding ticket here. Let's pull back on that. There we go. Well, we've got a good bit of open road here in front of us, so this might be a good time to talk about what else I have been watching and playing. Gaming and movie-wise. Again, want to share, updates from other media that I'm consuming. Give my recommendations, my thoughts, and my feedback. So the big news of this week, of other games that I played, game, singular, is I finally got around this weekend to playing The Return of the Obra Dinn. What a game. This one had been on my radar for some time, since it came out, really. Of course, I'd seen great headlines about it, many accolades. My bean bro, Kerry, of course, who was on the call with us last week, he played it a few months ago and spoke very highly of it. And, of course, I'd heard nothing but good things, but just hadn't gotten around to starting my own playthrough yet. I knew it wasn't a very long game, so finally this weekend I said, well, let's. I had some extra free time on the weekend, so I said, let's boot it up and give it a look-see. So, if you're not familiar, The Return of the Obra Dinn is kind of a smaller independent game, definitely a indie game, developed by a guy who is his own one-man studio. He's put out a couple major games now, and some other smaller projects as well. The first kind of top-level game that he was really known for was Papers, Please, that came out a few years back. I played Papers, Please a couple years ago now, and adored it. The concept of Papers, Please was very simple. You are an immigration checkpoint officer, and the whole of the game is people coming through your booth, presenting their papers, their passport, their forms for coming into the country for which you are working, Arstotzka, and you have to check over their paperwork. It slowly increases in difficulty. Early on, you're just checking to, make sure that their passport is spelled correctly and they are who they say they are. Over the course of the game, they have more forms, there are more rules and regulations and checklists that you have to go through. Describing the game makes it sound tedious and boring, and for a lot of people it probably is a very tedious and boring game, but I loved it. There was something about the nature of the sort of busy work of checking the paper, and then just enough of a story and a simple aesthetic that I loved Papers, Please. I'm looking forward to going back and playing it again one of these days. I usually have to give myself a couple of years at least between playthroughs of a game to really enjoy it as much as possible on the second playthrough. Anyway, I loved this guy's first game, so I knew I was going to love The Return of the Obra Dinn, but what a great game. The first thing that's really interesting about it, if you've looked up any gameplay or trailer, is it's a very simple graphical style. It's very one-bit, it's all monochromatic. Lucas Pope, the guy who created the game, was inspired by old-school Macintosh games with that very limited color palette, so limited himself to that. This game was in development for 4 years. Of course, he did all the work himself as a one-man developer. But The Return of the Obra Dinn, the concept is that it's 19th century Europe, and a trading ship, or a ship that had gone missing several years before, has just come back into port, and you are an insurance adjuster. You have to go on the ship and figure out what happened to the 60-man crew, none of whom are still alive or remain. You have this magical pocket watch that you can discover corpses on the ship and view the last few seconds of their life. The whole game is a giant mystery as to what happened on this ship. What happened to the people, to the crew, and you have to go through discovering their specific fates. There is a whole story of what happened on the ship that you have a logbook where every time you're discovering something, you're writing it down in this book in the game so you can unfold and discover the story of what happened on board the good ship Obra Dinn. And while you do that, there was, of course, it's not a simple story, it's convoluted, and many people on the ship either perished or mutinied or were lost at sea, and there's enough information that you discover as you go through to figure out what happened to everybody. If someone died, it's okay, how did they die and who killed them? If someone escaped, it's okay, why did they escape and where did they go? And it's very much a giant logic puzzle that you have to use just a ton of deductive reasoning for. It took me about between 7 and 8 hours to beat the game. I played the first hour of it in a single sitting, and by the end of that hour I was so confused. Because it's a mystery, and so as you start to unfold the initial sections of it, you're just going, what is going on? Like, I have no idea for who these people are on the ship, and you're discovering identities, but you have no context for their relationship. After the first hour, I was not disheartened to the point of not wanting to keep playing, but certainly sort of just confused. Like, am I going to like this game? Does it get more compelling? Is it supposed to feel like a slog? Well, then the next day I sat down for another good 3 or 4 hours, and boy, once you start wrapping your head around the mystery, it really sucks you in. Like, you start identifying the people on the ship and the crew and the different officers, and you start learning about these people, and you start getting emotionally invested in the story of what happened on the ship and how people die, and you're discovering more and more things as you go. It's a great game. If it's certainly not for everyone, but if you like puzzles, if you like having to use your brain a lot while solving puzzles in a game, definitely check it out. Definitely pick it up. It is more than worth your time. I got through it all in like 3 sittings, and boy, I stayed up super late one night this week to finish it, because I just had to know, like, how does it conclude? But it's such a, there's no action to it. The whole of the gameplay is you walking around the ship and viewing these memories, and then figuring out who is who and who did what and what happened. It's a great game. It's a really great game. No doubt, anytime Lucas Pope releases a new game in the future, yeah, I'm gonna be there getting that. I'm surprised it took me this long to get around to playing Obra Dinn. Fine game. Fine game. As to what's next, I've got a bunch of gaming on my 2019 gaming calendar that I'm trying to get to outside of what you're seeing on this channel, of course. Oh yeah, see, here's like an automated. Well, of course, this is just where you take the ticket for the toll booth. Excuse me. I've got several games on PS4 that I have ready to go in the backlog. Uncharted 4 is up there. Really enjoyed the Uncharted games. I've played 1 through 3, and it's time to finally sit down and do 4, and then Lost Legacy. Those are probably next up on PS4. God of War, still haven't played that. That's going to be another game like Obra Dinn, where as I'm playing it and when I finish it, I'm sure I'll be raving about it on here, because everyone I know who's played it just has nothing but heaps and heaps of lavish praise. Very much looking forward to that game. And then there's several others that I'm hoping to get to in time, but I'm not, and there's constantly new games coming out as well, but I'm not one to force myself to play through my backlog just to catch up. Like, I want to play games organically as the desire comes, and so sometimes it takes me a while to get through things, but it's all about maximal enjoyment. And what I can find time for, of course. Always more games in the backlog. Never enough free time in which to play them. Forgive me yawning. I'm apparently relaxing myself here, which is great. If you ever feel the need to, take a nap yourself or nod off in the middle of watching this, hey, that's fine. Go for it. If Euro Truck Simulator can be the white noise generator of your soul, that makes me happy. I feel like that's the exact same guy that we just saw back at the last toll booth. Obviously, they have a standardized uniform. That's good. Very official. You know what movie I watched last night? The Lion King. The original. Believe it or not, only the second time that I've ever seen it. My parents had never seen The Lion King, and so I said, you know what? We were going to watch The Little Mermaid, but we couldn't find our DVD disc of it. Very sad. My wife thankfully has a collection of pretty much every Disney movie that's ever been released. But The Little Mermaid movie disc was missing. Very unfortunate. But we watched Lion King instead. What a great movie. I didn't see that one until much later in life. The first time I saw it was probably like a decade ago. When I was 20-ish or so. For some reason, I just never saw that as a kid. I knew about it, sure, but didn't see it. So this being only my second viewing, after quite a while, I had forgotten some elements of it. I don't know. I don't think it's my favorite of the Disney Renaissance animated films, but it's very good. I had very much forgotten. The story is very well told, but the music is so good, especially Elton John's songs. So I like some of them more than others in that film, but. You know, the real unsung hero of that movie is Hans Zimmer's score, not the big character songs, but just all of the underscoring. So good. Of course, Hans Zimmer, I mean, you know, look at the man's credentials. Obviously knows what he's doing, but there are certain musical themes and motifs that I picked up on the viewing yesterday that I'd completely forgotten were there, and just adds to the ambiance to it. It's like an animated film should be making me feel this much, but it certainly does for good reason, and Hans Zimmer's score plays a big factor into that. It's a great story. Of course, I've often thought of it as sort of, you know, Hamlet, but with lions, with the brother killing the king and the son coming back to avenge. There's certainly elements of that, but I was reading about it today, and apparently there are elements of many other classic stories of African folklore woven throughout it just as heavily as Hamlet. Some of those story elements are common, of course, not just to the Western world, but universal. And of course, Disney is and has been, especially in that area, so good at telling really good stories anchored on those folklore frameworks, then filled out to be charmingly deep for animated kids movies. We'll have to watch The Little Mermaid again at some point. That's another one that I think I've only seen all the way. I think I've only seen it all the way through once, and so I'll probably pick up more on that on a second viewing as well. When I was a kid, Aladdin was one of the ones that I had that I watched a ton. That one was I distinctly recall having the VHS of Aladdin and watching that many a time. But that's one also that I haven't seen. I haven't seen the animated Aladdin in I don't know how long. I can still remember big parts of it, but you go a long time without seeing something, and you might be surprised at how much of it you've forgotten. It's good to revisit things like that, especially things that were formative in your childhood that you have a lot of fond memories over. Interesting to see how your memories of them have changed, or which parts you remembered more or less as you view things again through adult eyes, or through the eyes of just, you know, your own life, but with a lot more experiences. Well, we have found Marseille here. Ooh, stay in your lane, bucko. Le voyage en ballon. Balloon. Again, pronunciation, not my thing. I'm very sorry. Hot air balloon rides, apparently big in Marseille. Who knew? I haven't seen any balloons. I think we saw one last episode. Just a hot air balloon up there in the distance. Got some construction going on here. Look at this. We've got some big old infrastructure. Boy, this trucking depot is tucked way back here. Kind of on the outskirts. Oh, which makes sense. You can't have these big warehouse facilities right smack in the middle of downtown of everywhere, that's for sure. But yeah, this one is kind of dead-ended way back here. That sound. We've got a boat marina here. Interesting. Looks like you can drive down there too. I'm curious if you can do anything with boats in this game. If I remember it, at the beginning of next episode, maybe I'll do a little free drive and go down there just to see. I'm curious. Okay, what have we got here? Here's where we turn in. Got some guards standing outside here of Wilnut Transport. All right. Once again, let's just play it safe. This is a pretty decent sized little operation here. Plenty of space to turn around in, that's nice. Look at that. Got it on the first pass, pulled it in smooth. There's our excellent delivery. Fantastic. Used plastics from Torino to Marseille. Quite a bit of a drive there, but look at those bonuses. No, not a thing in the red. Got our proficiency bonus, our long distance bonus. Nice work. We're up, looks like over halfway to level 8. Excellent work. Excellent work. All right. Well, that was a couple, that was a bit of a low and a high there. A couple of long deliveries. We had the one that ended up late. Got a little penalty there, but still was okay. But then we finished it off with an excellent delivery. And I'm all about those. I'm all about excellence here at Bean Games Trucking. So I think we're going to call it there for today. Again, thanks for coming on the journey. You know, driving a truck can be kind of lonely out there, but it's not as lonely when I know that you're enjoying the journey as much as I am. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll I think next time we may try to maybe buy a few more decorations. Maybe see if we can go drive down to the marina or that boat depot there and see what's down there. But we'll worry about that next time. Guys, again, I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday. More Resident Evil. We're making progress, and I'm excited to see what happens there. And as always, we'll be excited to see you again next week for some more Euro Truck Simulator 2. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.